There are four things running your life right now, and the chances are you have never fully controlled any of them. Not because you are weak, not because you are undisciplined, but because nobody ever laid them out clearly enough for you to see what you were actually dealing with. Most people spend their lives working on the symptoms. They try to fix the relationship without examining the mouth that keeps damaging it. They try to build wealth without understanding the money that keeps disappearing. They try to find peace without addressing the mood that keeps stealing it. They try to achieve the goal without mastering the mind that keeps talking them out of it. And because they are working on the symptoms, the problems keep returning in different forms, with different forms, but the same root, untouched. And today we are going to touch the root. Four things: your mouth, your mood, your money, your mind. Master these four, and I mean genuinely master them, not perfectly but deliberately. And the version of your life that you have been trying to build stops being a project and starts being a reality. The Stoics understood something about human beings that most modern self-help has completely missed. They did not try to improve everything at once. They understood that everything, every problem, every failure, every repeated pattern that keeps showing up with a different costume traces back to one of a very small number of root causes. And if you address the root, the symptoms resolve themselves. Marcus Aurelius spent his entire reign not trying to fix every problem that crossed his desk, but mastering the internal foundations that determined how he met every problem: his mouth, his mood, his resources, his mind. And from those four foundations, he governed the most powerful empire in human history, not perfectly, but with a consistency and a groundedness that 2,000 years later we are still studying. Because the foundations work, they have always worked, and they will work for you, starting today. The first M, your mouth. Let us start here, because your mouth, the words you speak, the conversations you enter, the things you say that you cannot take back, is responsible for more of what is currently not working in your life than almost anything else. Think about it honestly. How many relationships have been damaged not by what happened, but by what was said in the wrong moment? How many opportunities have closed, not because you were not capable, but because something you said in a meeting, in a negotiation, in a moment of frustration, made someone decide you were not the person they thought you were? How many conflicts are currently alive in your life that would not exist if a single sentence had never been spoken? The mouth is the most powerful and most poorly managed tool most people possess, and the Stoics were uncompromising about this. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." That sentence is simple enough to fit on a wristband, and most people cannot follow it for a single day, because the mouth, left unmanaged, does not operate on truth or rightness. It operates on impulse, on emotion, on the need to be heard, to be right, to defend, to attack, to fill silence, to perform, to impress, to wound. And none of those impulses produce the outcomes you actually want. The first principle of mastering the mouth is this: say less than you think, not none, less. The Stoics understood that words become valuable in direct proportion to their scarcity. The person who speaks constantly, whose opinion is available on everything, whose voice fills every silence, is listened to least, because their words have no weight, there is no cost to them. They pour out without selectivity, and things without selectivity have no value. But the person who speaks rarely, who chooses their moments, who opens their mouth only when they have something genuinely worth saying, that person's words land differently. They are heard differently. They carry a weight that the constant talker never achieves. Epictetus said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so we can listen twice as much as we speak." That is not a suggestion. That is a ratio, a structural instruction about how much input to take in before how much output you send out. Most people have it completely reversed. They send far more than they receive, and wonder why they keep missing information that was always available but could not get through the noise of their own constant speaking. The second principle of mastering the mouth is to never speak from the middle of an emotion. This is the one that will save you more relationships, more opportunities, more of the aftermath that you have to spend weeks cleaning up than anything else you ever learn. When you are angry, when you are hurt, when you are embarrassed or threatened or tired or scared, your mouth is the most dangerous thing about you. Because in those moments, the mouth is not being operated by the rational mind. It is being operated by the emotional brain, which does not care about tomorrow, which does not calculate consequences, which only cares about the immediate relief of expression, and the immediate relief costs everything. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "How much more harmful are the consequences of anger than the circumstances that aroused it?" He was not telling you not to feel angry. He was telling you not to let the anger operate the mouth. Before you speak in any moment of elevated emotion, pause, not dramatically, not long. 3 seconds, 5 seconds. Long enough for the rational mind to ask, do I want to say this? What will this cost? What am I actually trying to achieve here? And if the answer is that you want to achieve relief at the expense of everything else, close the mouth. Take the relief somewhere private. And come back to the conversation when the mouth is being operated by the mind, not by the storm. The third principle of mastering the mouth is to stop telling people your plans. This one is going to feel counterintuitive because we live in a culture that celebrates announcement, the reveal, the post, the sharing of the vision with everyone who will listen, and every time you announce a goal, something happens in your brain. The announcement produces a dopamine response. The social acknowledgement of the intention, the nods, the encouragement, the likes, gives your brain a version of the reward before you have done the work, and a brain that has already received the reward has less motivation to earn it. The Stoics understood this intuitively. Marcus Aurelius built an empire. He did not announce his plans to his enemies. He did not share his strategies with people who might not want him to succeed. He worked in silence. And the work spoke. Stop announcing, start working, let the results speak. And when the results are undeniable, you will not need to announce them. The mouth is a tool. Like any tool, it is only useful when it is used correctly. Use it for truth. Use it for precision. Use it for the right words at the right time. And in every other moment, let it rest. The silence will serve you better than you think. The second M, your mood. Your mood is running more of your life than you know. Not just your emotional experience, your decisions, your relationships, your financial choices, your response to opportunity, your capacity to do the work that matters. All of it is being filtered through a mood that most people never examine, never question, never deliberately manage. It just arrives and they live inside it, without choosing it, without understanding where it came from, without knowing that there is another option. And here is the part that most people never consider. Your mood is not your authentic emotional state. Your mood is a weather pattern, and like weather, it is influenced by an enormous number of factors, many of which are within your control. Sleep, what you consumed, the conversations you had, the content you exposed yourself to, the quality of your physical movement, the first thing you thought about when you woke up, the last thing you thought about before you slept. All of it contributes to the weather pattern of your mood. And the person who understands this, who understands that their mood is not fixed, not authentic, not the honest truth of who they are, but a temporary weather condition that can be influenced, has a fundamentally different relationship with their own emotional experience. The first principle of mastering the mood is to observe it before you inhabit it. Most people inhabit their mood immediately. They wake up, and the mood is there, and they step inside it, and they carry it through the day as if it were a decision they made rather than a condition they found. The Stoic practice, the one Marcus Aurelius returned to every single morning, was to observe the mood before inhabiting it, to notice, I am feeling resistant today, I am feeling irritable, I am feeling heavy, to name it, without immediately becoming it. There is an enormous difference between I am angry and I notice that anger is present. The first version makes you the anger. The second version makes you the observer of the anger, and the observer has choices that the anger does not have. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." The mood is an outside event. Even when it is happening inside you, it is something that arrived, not something you are. And the moment you establish that distinction, the moment you step back from the mood and observe it rather than becoming it, you recover the most important thing the mood takes from you: choice. The second principle of mastering the mood is to understand what is feeding it. Moods do not arrive from nowhere. They are downstream of something, and most people never look upstream. They experience the mood, and they respond to the mood without ever asking what created this. What am I consuming that is producing this? What am I doing or not doing that is generating this weather pattern? Because here is the truth about mood that nobody is comfortable saying: most bad moods are self-inflicted, not consciously, not maliciously, but causally. Poor sleep produces a mood. Poor nutrition produces a mood. Consuming hours of negative content produces a mood. Spending time with people who drain you produces a mood. Beginning every morning by handing the first moments of your consciousness to a phone full of other people's urgency produces a mood. And the person who understands this, who looks upstream and sees what is feeding the weather, can change the weather. Not perfectly, not immediately, but deliberately. Seneca wrote, "Every day acquire something that will fortify you against poverty, against death, against other misfortunes as well, and after you have run over many thoughts, select one to be thoroughly digested that day." Not consumed, digested. The Stoics were extraordinarily careful about what they allowed to enter the mind, because they understood that what entered the mind created the mood, and the mood created the life. The third principle of mastering the mood is to build the practice before the mood arrives. Because here is the problem with trying to manage your mood in the middle of a bad one. It is like trying to build a house in a storm. The conditions are wrong. The tools are harder to use. The results are less reliable. The mood management practice, the journal, the morning pause, the physical movement, the deliberate consumption choices need to be built in the good weather, so that when the storm arrives, and it always arrives, the house is already standing. Marcus Aurelius built his practice in the quiet mornings, before the empire needed him, before the mood had been contaminated by the day. He returned to his values, his principles, his understanding of what was and was not within his control, and from that foundation he met the storms, not without feeling them, but without being destroyed by them. Build the practice before you need it, so that when you need it, it is already there. The third M, your money. This is the one most people think they understand, and almost nobody actually does. Not because money is complicated, because our relationship with money is complicated, loaded with emotion, with identity, with fear, with desire, with the specific way money was handled or mishandled in the house you grew up in. And most people are making every financial decision of their adult life from patterns that were installed before they were 10 years old, without knowing it. The Stoics had a precise and liberating philosophy about money, and it is not what most people expect. They did not say money is evil. They did not say wealth is shameful. They did not preach poverty as virtue. What they said was something far more nuanced and far more useful. They said money is a preferred indifferent, which means having it is better than not having it. Using it wisely is better than using it foolishly. Building it is better than squandering it. But, and this is the part most people miss, your relationship with your peace, your values, your character must never depend on whether you have it. Seneca was one of the wealthiest men in Rome, and he wrote, "I do not regard a man as poor if the little which remains is enough for him." The Stoic relationship with money is not about how much you have. It is about how well you understand what you have, how deliberately you manage it, and how free your peace is from its fluctuation. The first principle of mastering money is to know exactly where it goes. This sounds obvious, almost insultingly simple. And yet, the vast majority of people have only a vague idea of where their money goes each month. Not a precise idea, a vague one. And vague management produces vague results. which means the money that could be building something is instead disappearing into a fog of unexamined small decisions that each individually feel insignificant and collectively represent the difference between the financial life you have and the one you want. Marcus Aurelius kept meticulous records, not because he was obsessive, because he understood that you cannot govern what you cannot see. That principle applies to an empire, and it applies to a bank account. Know where the money goes, every unit of it, not to punish yourself, to see clearly. Because clarity in financial matters, as in everything else, is the beginning of genuine change. The second principle of mastering money is to distinguish between what you want and what you need. The Stoics practiced this constantly, not theoretically, practically. Epictetus, who had almost nothing, demonstrated that a human being can live with very little, and that the wanting of more than you need is the source of most financial suffering, not poverty. Wanting, because wanting is a feeling, and feelings can be examined, and examined feelings lose their power to drive decisions. The next time you are about to spend money on anything above genuine necessity, ask this question: is this a need, or is this a want that arrived dressed as a need? That question, honestly answered, will save you more money over a lifetime than any financial strategy ever will. The third principle of mastering money is to invest in what builds, not what depletes. The Stoics believed in the compound effect of good decisions, not in grand gestures. In consistent, small, correct choices made repeatedly over long periods of time. Every financial decision you make either builds something or depletes something. And the person who understands this distinction, who applies it to every decision consistently, does not need to be extraordinary, does not need a windfall, does not need perfect timing or a privileged starting position. They simply need the patience to keep making the building decision when the depleting one would feel better in the moment. Seneca wrote, "Everything outside us is borrowed. Time alone is ours. Your money is borrowed. It came through effort, through opportunity, through a combination of choices and circumstances that could always have gone differently." The question is not how much you have. The question is what you are building with the time you have to manage it. Build deliberately, every day, one correct small decision at a time. The fourth principle of mastering money is to never let it determine your peace. This is the Stoic master principle, the one that everything else points toward, because here is the trap that most people fall into. They believe, sometimes consciously, sometimes as a background assumption they never examined, that when they have enough money they will feel okay, they will feel safe, they will feel free. And they spend their entire lives chasing enough without ever reaching it, because enough is a feeling, not a number, and the feeling of enough never arrives from the outside. It is built on the inside, from the relationship with yourself, from the clarity of your values, from the understanding hard-won through the practices of the first two M's, that your peace does not live in the account. It lives in you, and the person who knows this, who has genuinely understood it, manages money differently, not recklessly, not carelessly, but freely, without the anxiety of someone whose peace depends on the number, without the paralysis of someone who cannot make a decision until they feel financially safe, with the steadiness of someone who knows clearly and unshakably that even if the number changes, they will be okay. Because they have always been okay, not because of the number, despite it, and sometimes in spite of it. The fourth M, your mind. We have arrived at the foundation, because everything, the mouth, the mood, the money, everything is downstream of what is happening in the mind. The mind is the source, and the most important work, the work that determines the quality of everything else, is the work done here, in the mind, on the mind, with the mind. Marcus Aurelius understood this completely. He wrote, "The universe is change. Our life is what our thoughts make it. Our life is what our thoughts make it, not our circumstances, not our relationships, not our bank account, or our reputation, or the opinions of people around us. Our thoughts. The quality, content, and direction of our thinking creates the quality, content, and direction of our lives, and most people never deliberately work on their thinking. They think the way they have always thought, with the same patterns, the same tendencies, the same defaults that were installed before they had any say in the installation, and then they wonder why the results keep looking the same. Same thoughts, same decisions, same outcomes, different year. The first principle of mastering the mind is to watch what you feed it. The mind is not passive. It is being shaped constantly by everything you consume, by everything you expose yourself to, by the conversations you have, the content you consume, the people you spend time with, the information you allow in. All of it is feeding the mind, building the mental architecture, creating the thinking patterns that will generate your decisions, your moods, your words, your relationship with your money, tomorrow and next year and 10 years from now. Seneca wrote, "Associate with people who are likely to improve you." That instruction applies to everything you consume, not just people, content, books, conversations, information sources. Is this making me better? Is this building mental architecture worth having? Is this improving the quality of my thinking, or is it just filling the space? Because the mind does not know the difference between input that builds and input that merely occupies. It processes both the same way, and it is built by both. The question is, what are you building? The second principle of mastering the mind is to examine your thoughts, not just have them. This is the distinction that separates the Stoic from everyone else. Everyone has thoughts, thousands of them, every single day. An endless stream of observations, reactions, judgments, fears, hopes, plans, and random associations that arrive without invitation and leave without explanation. Most people receive all of those thoughts as reality, as facts, as accurate descriptions of the world and of themselves. "He does not respect me," thought. "I am not capable of this," thought. "This is never going to work," thought. "People like me do not get opportunities like that," thought. And the moment the thought arrives, most people accept it, attach to it, build on it, let it direct the next decision, without ever asking, is this true? Is this thought accurate? Is this a fact? Or is this a feeling that arrived, dressed as a fact? Epictetus wrote, "Men are disturbed not by the things which happen, but by the opinions about the things." The thought is the opinion, not the event, not the fact, the interpretation. And interpretations can be examined. The examined interpretation, looked at clearly without attachment, without immediately believing it, often dissolves, or reveals itself as only partially true, or shows you a different angle, a different possibility, that the unexamined version was too narrow to contain. Examine your thoughts, not defensively, not to prove them wrong. With genuine curiosity, is this accurate? Is this useful? Is this the only way to interpret what just happened? That question, asked consistently, changes the quality of your thinking at a fundamental level, and changed thinking, changed at the foundational level, changes everything downstream. The third principle of mastering the mind is to direct it deliberately. The unmanaged mind is a reactive mind. It moves wherever the strongest stimulus points it, to the notification, to the conflict, to the worry, to the comparison, to the worst-case scenario, not because it is broken, because it is operating exactly as it was designed to operate in the prehistoric environment, where the strongest stimulus was usually the most important one. But in the modern environment, where stimuli are designed specifically to be as strong and as compelling as possible, the reactive mind is perpetually hijacked. It never gets to go where it would actually be most useful, where it would produce the insight, the decision, the creative solution, the genuine original thought. Because those things require direction, not reaction. Marcus Aurelius directed his mind. Every morning, before anything external had the chance to direct it for him, he pointed it somewhere specific, at his values, his purpose, the qualities he was trying to embody, the person he was trying to be. He gave the mind its instruction for the day before the day could give it a different one. You can do the same, not with an hour-long ritual, not with a complex practice, with a question asked every morning, before the phone, before the news, before anyone else's urgency has a chance to colonize your attention. What matters most today? Who do I want to be in the hardest moment today? What is the one thing my mind should be working toward? Point it, and watch what it does when it has a direction. The fourth principle of mastering the mind is to protect it like it is the only thing worth protecting, because it is. Everything else, the money, the relationships, the reputation, the physical health, all of it depends on the quality of what is happening in the mind. And all of it can be damaged permanently by the wrong things gaining access to it, the wrong thoughts held too long, the wrong content consumed too consistently, the wrong voices given too much space, the wrong comparisons entertained too regularly. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Receive without pride, release without struggle." That instruction is about the mind. Receive what is true and useful, release what is not, without struggle, without the attachment that turns a passing thought into a permanent resident. The mind is yours. It is the only thing in this world that is completely and non-negotiably yours. Protect it with everything you have, not from ideas, not from challenge, from the things that diminish it, that make it smaller. So here is what these 4 M's actually are. They are not 4 separate disciplines. They are one discipline seen from 4 angles, because the mind creates the mood. The mood operates the mouth. The mouth determines the relationships. The relationships influence the money. The money affects the mood. The mood shapes the mind. It is a circle, and the person who works on all 4 simultaneously, who understands that they are not separate problems but one interconnected system, does not have to wait for the perfect moment to start. They can start at any point in the circle, right now, with the next word you choose not to say impulsively, with the next thought you examine before you believe it, with the next financial decision you make from clarity rather than emotion, with the next mood you observe rather than inhabit. That is where the master of the 4 M's starts, not with a dramatic transformation, with a single choice, and then another, until the circle starts moving differently. Marcus Aurelius governed an empire. He carried more than any person reading this will ever be asked to carry. And he came back every single day to these 4 foundations, not because he had mastered them, because he understood that mastery is not a destination. It is a daily return, a daily choosing, a daily practice of the person you are trying to become, applied in the small invisible moments that nobody else will ever see, but that determine everything. He wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good person should be. Be one." That instruction lives in the 4 M, in the mouth that chooses truth over impulse, in the mood that is observed rather than inhabited, in the money that is managed with clarity and freedom, in the mind that is fed deliberately, protected fiercely, directed purposefully, and examined honestly. Be one, not the perfect version, not the arrived version, the practicing version, the returning version, the version that makes the next choice from the best understanding of what is right, and then makes it again and again, until the life that was always possible starts to look like the life you are actually living. If this landed somewhere real, share it with one person who needs to hear that the root of most of their problems is 4 things that have always been within their power to address. New Stoic wisdom here every single week.